Yo, what is poppin'? My 420 army is your boy the Mighty Liam 420, and we're here it is with our Uncharted what if scenario. This time is what we're starting off with what if Sam's story about breaking out of prison with Hector Alcazar was true and how this would affect the story of Uncharted 4. Like what would happen to Rafe and Nadine throughout the story, as well as the fate of Shoreline. We'll answer all of that in this video. Basically, the events of Uncharted 4 would be the same when Nate and Sam are reunited after 15 years, and Sam would still tell his Alcazar story, but the only difference is that it's true instead of false, which I actually also have a video that I made a while ago. It shows all of the hidden signs that foreshadow the reveal of Alcazar being fake, but all of those final hints would be gone, and everything else aside from those, everything else in U4 would be the same until Nate mentions Alcazar to Rafe, and Rafe would be like, okay, what did Alcazar have to do with any of this? Instead of revealing that Alcazar died in a shootout in Argentina 6 months prior. And then at that part, Alcazar himself would show up on the cliff, and he would tell Sam his 3-month deadline is up, and then the rest of Alcazar's cartel members would also surround Rafe and Nadine from behind on that cliff, and then Alcazar would tell Rafe everything about how he got saved out of prison.
Let me tell you a story. Samuel was my cellie for a whole year. When I was planning to escape from that prison, and he claimed to know where Avery's treasure was, so I brought him with me when I escaped. But once we were out, he revealed he faked his knowledge, so I gave him 3 months to find the treasure or I would kill him. Meanwhile, I kept a close eye on Samuel and followed him as he left Panama and disguised myself by doing the same personal check scan he did to get on his plane and follow him back to the United States. I even began shortening the 3-month deadline as he was making forward progress, such as finding the St. Dismas cross at the Rossi estate in Italy, so I booked a room for her down the hall from where he was staying with his brother and that St. Alcon man, so that way I could spy on them, and I even followed them into the action as they shot their way out of there in their limo. So my goons and I followed in a car we had stolen from someone else at the action, followed them back to their hotel. We also snuck onto some of the ships from Shoreline when we headed to Scotland, and when we knew you guys would be headed there, and I was watching you guys from outside the cathedral. I would also send some of my men to mess with Shoreline when you guys escaped, and we even continued doing this in Madagascar, and even once you all arrived in Libertalia. As soon as I saw the old man, Victor Sullivan, and the lady leave, I knew I could shorten Samuel's deadline even more before I figured I would end it here, since we're all getting close to Avery's treasure. And even was close to getting him out. But he survived the storm, but he escaped. So I followed him closely where he was headed to the tower and figured out now would be a good time to finally get him when I saw him fighting the damsel in distress here.
Yeah, I hope you liked my Alcazar impression, but it's not that great, but either way, it's Alcazar would be talking about Nadine when he says damsel. And he would be about to shoot Sam, but Sam would quickly run and get shot in the shoulder like he did in the game, and Nate would somehow still get knocked off the cliff, and a war breaks out between Alcazar and Shoreline. And then Sam would be running, trying to find a way to shake Alcazar and even Rafe, while Nate would still reunite with Elena after having that dream sequence he has in chapter 16. So then Nate and Elena would actually go steal the car that they still do in chapter 17, and they'd probably end up getting caught on the way out and would have to drive through even more war zones as they head towards New Devon. And they see Sam alone trying to block his path, or even use like one trick make a troll path to trick Alcazar and like help Nate find him after they got separated. Though, as Nate and Elena are making their way through New Devon after entering the city, they would see both armies fighting each other, and even Rafe and Alcazar arguing with each other again, because they're both super keen on getting that treasure. And after making it past both armies, Nate and Elena would enter the mansion, see the dinner scene, and see multiple sets of footprints made by Sam in order to guide Nate, and they would basically end up getting to another war zone, even underground. Because basically every encounter from here is going to be the same. Be a war zone between Shoreline and Alcazar's men. Even once they get inside, they'd notice the two trails and Sam makes, but Nate would most likely go down the path made for fooling Alcazar, because Sam would likely lure him into the mummy bombs while trying to move Nate away from them, but obviously he could make it clear as to which is which. And then Nate and Elena would still get into more war zones along the way, since they encounter Shoreline in the real Uncharted 4, and they still get to that other maze with the exploding tiles. And then after all the enemy encounters, everything would be the same until they get outside the ship graveyard. And then they'd see Sam running, but it would be both Shoreline and Alcazar shooting at him, and then Nate and Elena would be fighting both until they reunite with Sam during the fight. The three of them would still have to fend off both armies, and Nate would still get chased before Sully blows up the car. But when Sam and Elena arrived, they would create a diversion for Nate and Sam going for Avery's treasure together, while Sully and Elena would try to hold off Alcazar, but he'd be persistent on going after Sam, even with a brief conversation with Sully, who he had previously met a few decades prior. But then Nate and Sam would split up in order to thwart Alcazar when they're on their way to Avery's ship. But then once they reach the ship, they'd still be confronted by Rafe and Nadine. However, Sam would not be under a piece of wood like he is in the game, and they would be trapped with Alcazar by the way they came in. The final boss would be Sam and Alcazar going against each other, while Nate and Rafe would still fight each other like they do in the real U4, but Nadine would also not bail on Rafe and leave him there, or even if she tried to, Alcazar would probably just cut him off and be like, "Where do you think you're going, Missy?" And then, obviously, since there's only two swords for Nate and Rafe to use, Sam, Alcazar, and Nadine would have to use wooden planks, or even metal, any sort of metal to use as weapons. But Rafe's death would play out differently if Alcazar were true, because the long duel would go on for a while until Sam uses a cannon the same way Nate does in the game, and he'd trick Alcazar to gain pinned under it with Rafe and Nadine, while also opening a small hole for them to escape it, leaving Alcazar, Rafe, and Nadine to drown. Although whether they drown or blow up in the explosion is up for you to decide. And also, with Nadine dead, this would completely change the events of Lost Legacy. Without Nadine in Lost Legacy, Chloe would have someone else who have worked with Assault in the past, but obviously the show must go on, so we'll have Charlie Cutter replace Nadine in Lost Legacy. And FYI, the ending of 4 would be the exact same, with Nate being in charge of the diving company he worked for, and he would still have Cassie as well. And by the way, Lost Legacy would be very similar, with Charlie Cutter in place of Nadine, or even a completely different character. Like, they end up making some sort of twist that Alcazar has a daughter. That would be kind of, I'm not sure how people would have responded to that, but everything else would be the exact same until Charlie sees Sam and wonders who it is, and he'd wonder, who is that, when he sees Sam, because obviously we're probably going to assume that Charlie has never met Sam before, and then Chloe would immediately explain, oh yeah, that's Sam Drake, and Charlie would be like, oh, so I finally get to meet Nate's brother. And this also means Charlie and who would not punch Chloe the same way Nadine does, and they would head into the temple and everything would go the same until they're captured and Sam would finally meet Charlie, and they'd start to know each other before being handcuffed and left to drown, because being that Sam and Charlie have never met each other beforehand, they would be more friendly with each other. It's like, that Sam would be like, so you worked with Nathan before, but you fell and broke your leg? That's too bad. And they would escape the same way they do in the real Lost Legacy, and then Sam and Charlie would even start bonding more as they get closer to Tusk. And then once they see Shoreline, Sam would mention Nadine to Charlie, and he would be even more surprised with Sam taking on both Alcazar and Shoreline. Also, the final fight would have Charlie on the train, similar to how Nadine was in the game, and Sam would probably be more on the edge on Charlie on his own, but the ending on Lost Legacy would be the same, with Sam and Chloe watching the sunset together once the broken bridge after the train falls down and kills Assault after his boss fight. So, yeah, that is basically what if Hector Alcazar were true, and he actually did end up coming to Libertalia, and they actually, or even if Lost Legacy get affected and Alcazar did have like a kid, and they worked with Chloe during that game, and upon Sam realizing, I faced off against Hector Alcazar, and he blew up, and they'd be like, you bastard, you killed my father! And Sam would be like, Jeez, wait, this is Alcazar's kid. Oh boy. Or even if Sam didn't know, he'd probably just be like, "Oh, hello, little Alcazar." But yeah, that's pretty much how those games would play out. So let me know in the comments what you think, because I've already mentioned before in previous videos how that liar reveal trope was just stupid, how they use it way too much. But either way, I've seen people actually defending it, saying, oh, it works as a parallel because Sam lying to Alcazar actually kind of gets back at Nate for him lying to Elena. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this what if scenario, and I'm trying to think of another what ifs and some more what if scenarios for Uncharted. Like, I think I have one in the works, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments if you would think it'd go like this, or let me know if you would where you would disagree, like, oh, if Alcazar were true, Sam would not make it back to the US in 3 months. And Sam would even have a shorter time period once he finally did manage to find Nate, because he wouldn't know Nate was in New Orleans right away. But yeah, that's literally all I have to say for this video. So please like, comment, share, sub, and peace.